So I've been asked by my followers on Snapchat to chat to you about pigmentation, which is a huge concern for so many, particularly our skin type. Northern Europeans, we've no real natural ability to protect our skin in the sun, so we tend to succumb to sun damage and photo aging so easily, and it's obviously a big concern for people. So I'm going to chat to you just a little bit about what you can do to prevent it and how you can treat it and what exactly is causing it. So if we start off with what's probably causing it. So pigmentation is usually fueled by hormones. In the case of plasma, so the pill will be a massive side effect to the pill. So I think it's really, if you are on the pill, it is probably going to remain for as long as you continue to take the pill. You can probably change pill and see if it happens as bad with another type, but plasma particularly is fueled by hormones. So that's that particular type of acne. And then what can happen is, even when you come off the pill, it can remain. Also, of course, as with all pigmentation, it's caused mainly by the sun. So what happens is we have a layer of melanocytes, which is the brown cell, the darker cell. If you wish, it's your own natural SPF, because obviously we weren't born with a bottle of SPF. So it's Mother Nature's way of protecting your skin from the sun. A melanocyte is naturally a thicker cell, so it tends to make the skin more resilient to burning and to sun damage. So what happens is, basically, from either trauma or hormones or general sun damage, it is part of the aging process. A lot of pigmentation disorders can happen, and the damage can be done before the age of 18, but it's not until we're much older that it manifests and it shows on the skin. And like I said, it can be very aging. So what happens is the melanocytes just become uneven. So when it comes to treating pigmentation, this is something that you really have to be aware of, because by the time we see it on the outer layer, the horny layer, which is the dead layer, you're kind of only seeing a product of the damage in the formation of the cells. So it does make the treatment of pigmentation notoriously difficult. But the one thing I will say to you when it comes to treating pigmentation, what calls the pigmentation up, if you wish. When I say pigmentation, I mean like uneven skin tone. What calls it to the surface is the sun. So SPF is key. Other than that, vitamin A is your best go-to product, because vitamin A actually re-educates the skin cell. It can repair sun damage. The only thing vitamin A can't do is if you have what's called hypopigmentation. A hyperpigmentation is too much production of the melanocyte cell. It's where you have a darkening, but a hypo is too little, and that's where you have a whitening of the skin. That actually means that the melanocyte is dead, it's redundant, and nothing can ever repair that. So if you have lack of pigment, there's nothing we can do. But if you have a hyperpigmentation where it's like a staining on the skin, there is a lot we can very, very successfully treat. I find generally just topical vitamin A works so well. It naturally inhibits melanin production, and of course it makes the skin stronger, much more resilient to sun damage. So I just find it's not as obvious on a skin that is treated with vitamin A. And of course, all of our products containing vitamin A also contains vitamin C, and vitamin C is key in the fight against pigmentation. Vitamin C is a natural skin brightener and lightener, and also it inhibits melanin production, which melanin is that brown cell. So that's what you're constantly trying to control. There is also another product in the Environ Skincare range called a clarifying lotion. Now you must be supporting this product with topical vitamin A, which basically means your skin must be in a state of good health before we would go to this. But this is a wonderful product. It can be used as a toner. It also helps the penetration of vitamin A, C and E in your home care. And another little thing you can do with this is you can dampen some cotton wool with it, apply it onto a darkened age spot or some pigmentation, and even if you were to apply like a plaster over to hold that gauze or cotton soaked in the clarifying lotion, what this does, it acts like a magnet and actually pulls the pigmentation up. And by the time the pigmentation gets to the top layer of skin, it is dead, so it will naturally desquamate off. But this causes the pigmentation to gravitate towards the horny layer, and it removes it much quicker. Otherwise, a lot of people tend to treat pigmentation with IPL. It's not really a go-to treatment. It's not somewhere it's not the direction I like to push my clients in or encourage them to go down that road, because ultimately lasers and IPLs make your skin more sun sensitive. So although yes, it may get rid of the pigmentation that's there today, inevitably you're going to be more susceptible to pigmentation and irregular pigmentation after having this treatment done. One key treatment that I find is incredible for pigmentation is skin needling. I've spoke so much about skin needling this week. You know, it's my go-to treatment for nearly everything, but it's really, really good. And I find even with my own pigmentation, what it does is it just naturally kills it off because the skin regenerates. CST or skin needling causes the skin to regenerate in the same way if you wish that a lizard regenerates or a snake's skin regenerates. So that old dead pigmentation goes and the skin comes back. And hopefully when the skin comes back, it's now treated with vitamin A and vitamin C, and it's brighter and it's much lighter and the pigmentation is not as evident. Before you go down the road of skin needling, of course, in-house treatments are incredible. The home peel kit, although we use that now more for problem skin, it's also the home peel kit being the cool peel that you use at home, and then also with an in-salon treatment, a facial called the Cool Peel Facial. Both of them are fantastic for pigmentation, and they would have originally, before the Revival Mask, been our anti-aging product as well. So it contains lactic acid, which comes from milk. So lactic acid is a natural emollient, so it softens the skin, but it's also a natural skin brightener. And it is, if you wish, the reason why Cleopatra would have bathed in milk would have been the effects that lactic acid had on her skin. So it really encourages. That's one of the first things that people will say to me when they come in, and they could be coming in for problem skin or for acne, and they will say to me that they've noticed their pigmentation is lightened. That's another thing. If your skin is cut or injured, it is so important that while it's in healing, you do not expose it to the sun, because at that time, if you wish, the epidermis and the basal layer, which is what functions and what supports melanocytes and pigmentation, is damaged, it's compromised because there's an injury there. So if you at that point were to expose your skin to the sun, it can result in permanent pigmentation problems. In the same way that so with your nail, this part of your nail is the dead part, but the matrix, this behind the cuticle wall, is where that's the living part. So if you were to, let's say, catch your finger in a drawer and you were to damage up here, that's going to grow out and it's going to be fine. But if you damage the matrix, which is the living part of the nail, you will end up with a permanent, where you have like maybe a permanent split in your nail, and that nothing will ever heal that, because like I said, the matrix has been damaged. And it's the same way if you have a cut or if your skin isn't healing and you expose it to the sun, there can be a permanent irregular pigmentation left afterwards. So that's what's so important with our problem skin clients and our acne clients, that they use an SPF, because it's really important that they don't at that point expose their skin to the sun. And that's why a lot of time when it comes to me treating scarring for acne, pigmentation would be one of the first things that I'm treating as a result of scarring. A lot of people would associate pigmentation with scarring for that reason as well. So if you do have pigmentation, what do I recommend? Of course, start on environment skincare, feed your skin with topical vitamin A and vitamin C, which is going to help. And it's not something, there's no magic cure for it. So I don't really, apart from skin needling, which of course you have to progress by using the environment for 12 weeks beforehand anyway. Apart from skin needling, I don't think there's any one treatment that's going to get rid of it straight away. So what you're going to need to do is drip feed the skin with these essential nutrients that are going to really, really help make your skin really, really healthy and really help with the pigmentation. So if pigmentation is a problem for you, SPF is key, because what SPF will do, it's not going to do anything to sort out why the pigmentation is there, but it will stop the pigmentation rising up to the surface, because that's the sun calling up the big pigmentation. SPF is key. And then also treating the skin with topical vitamin A and vitamin C to make the skin as strong and as healthy as possible, and of course the vitamin C to naturally lighten and brighten the skin and inhibit melanin production. So I hope that helps with pigmentation. There can be a lot around the eye area as well, and some people get more on the right hand side, and that could be if you drive a lot, the sun coming in. So just be aware of it. Now that I've told you what causes and what are the triggers, it may give you the ability just to be able to put procedures in place to try and stop that happening. It is really, really important. I think pigmentation can be quite stressful, it's very notoriously difficult to treat, and it can be quite aging on the skin. So environ, topical vitamin A, vitamin C. I hope that helps. Like I said, I did a little screenshot on my Snapchat, and this is what people mostly wanted me to speak about, and I'm not surprised, because most clients would present at some point with pigmentation problems, and it is quite distressing. So talk to you all soon.